We're now going to cross over to our reporter in Kenya, Ken Karuri, at our studios in Nairobi to look at that country's budget. A very warm welcome to you, Ken.
Good evening, Hannah.
Let's
Thanks
just
for
start
having
with
me in
what
studio.
stood out for you the most in this year's budget.
It was a very ambitious budget that was read by the Finance Minister, Njero, and one of the main pointers is he indicated that growth is going to peak traction and is going to reach 5.2% this year. And where is he expecting this to come from? He's looking at expansion in agriculture, tourism, transport, ICT, and communication. But again, some of the economists are already putting a question mark on exactly how this is going to happen, noting that we still have high inflation as well as the interest rates, which are still very high.
Is there concern because some analysts are saying that we could see domestic borrowing rather increase? Do you see that in the budget that be happening?
Well, from what the minister was saying is that he's expecting to fund most of it from the local, and I can actually read you some of the financing agreement that he pushed through, and this is what he's saying is that he expects to raise at least 143.6 billion shillings, and that's net foreign financing, supported by 106.7 billion shillings, which is net borrowing from the domestic market.
So let's talk a little bit about that net foreign financing, because again, analysts are looking at this budget and saying that there are real question marks there on how that's actually going to play out. What are you hearing?
It will be very interesting noting that most of the income, for the government comes from the KRA, and if you look at in the last couple of years, we can actually see the growth has sort of stifled, and this you can tell with the economy not growing with the way it was expected. We know it reached 7.1% before the post-election violence. After that, it went down to almost 2.5%. It's only last year again it grew to less than 5%. So it's still a challenge for the minister.
Now, another thing that's a huge challenge, and you've also spoken about it, is inflation. Any indication in that budget on what they intend to do with that high inflation?
Mm-hmm. According to the minister, he's saying that he expects inflation to come to below 5%, and he's working with central bank. They're working on some certain measures in the medium term. But for now, the first thing is to bring down the non-food, non-fuel component, which is the component which was actually above 9%. Once they bring that one down, then they can be able to tackle the food component and the fuel, which again is beyond them.
Ken, if you look at the numbers right now, the Kenyan inflation numbers, talking about 5% in the medium term seems very ambitious. What are experts saying?
It's actually very ambitious, looking at inflation, which currently sits at over 12%. For a long time, since last year, it went to double digits. It fell from 19 early this year. It has slowed considerably, all the way now to 12%. It's really, really hard to bring it down to 5%. Everybody will be wondering exactly how this is going to happen. But then again, it's only time will tell.
Another concern has been increased expenditure of the government, and some of that, well, a lot of that coming from public sector wages. What are you hearing about? Are they going to rein that in? Are we going to continue to see high demands from the public sector in terms of wages coming out of Kenya?
When it comes to government spending, actually that's one of the biggest concerns which has been raised by economists. And this is actually, we are moving into an election period, the 2012-2013. So that means we expect the government to incur higher costs when it comes to the electioneering, and already the IEBC, which is a body that runs the elections, has already given a budget of about 30 billion shillings the minister has said, no, we can only work with 19 billion shillings. Again, now that's something that they'll have to sit down and know how they're going to tackle that. Then
when I
also
read some of the reports,
aspect of the high wages.
Ken, when I read some of the reports that are coming out, there are experts that are saying the projected revenue collection, and they're calling it a tough call. What is happening right now when it comes to revenue collection, and looking at the numbers that the government is saying that they will be able to collect, do you think that it's actually viable?
I'm not very sure whether it's viable, and the government is basing its numbers on the 5.2% growth. Whether this will happen, I don't think so. If you look at the economic survey that was released by the Minister of Planning sometime in May, he said that the economy is expected to grow by between 3.5 and 4.5 this year. And if that is the way that and that's actually what most economists are thinking is going to happen, then that means that we're going to have a shortfall, which the Ministry of Finance will have to find a way so that they can plug it.
Overall, Ken, from what you're hearing, experts say, analysts, the business community, what people are saying about this budget, a good budget, not so great, what is the sentiment?
I was actually on Twitter following one of the hotel keepers. He's called Mr. Harsey. He's one of the people who is behind the tourism, and he was very concerned that the tourism was not mentioned in the budget, which is a very big letdown, noting that tourism is the second, actually the largest foreign earner after tea and horticulture. But all in all, I think it was a good budget. But then again, growth 5.2%. Where is it coming from? There are still question marks there.
And I suppose that's what we're going to have to wait and see for. Ken, thank you so much for joining us. That was our report, and he was just giving us what he's been hearing and just looking at the budget and his experience and what he expects to be happening and what he's hearing analysts say about the 2012-2013 Kenya budget.